My mom drained my college savings while I was standing at my grandmother's gravesite, also her stepson could go to college. But what she didn't count on, Grandma left the house to me in her will. So I packed up their things and kicked them to the curb. I'll never forget the exact moment it hit me, the moment I realized I didn't matter in my own family anymore. It was one of those evenings where the cold sneaks into your bones and the wind outside groaned like it had something to say. I was at the sink, scrubbing the last few dinner plates. My mom, Diane, stood leaning on the counter, grinning at whatever she was looking at on her phone. Brandon, my stepbrother, lounged at the table, absent-mindedly flipping a pen through his fingers. Paul, her husband, not my dad, was kicked back in his chair, swirling a glass of whiskey like he owned the place more than I ever had. So, Brandon, Paul's low voice sliced through the silence, any thoughts on where you want to go for college? Brandon smirked, dropped his pen, and said, still thinking maybe NYU or Stanford. But you know it comes down to the money, Paul added with a nod. That's when my mom's eyes lit up like fireworks. Oh, honey, don't you worry about that. We'll make sure you can go wherever your heart desires. My hand froze mid-scrub, a plate slick with soap still in my grip. The way she said it, something felt off. Really off. Paul cleared his throat and added, actually, Diane and I were just talking about that. My mom set her phone down and turned toward me, her face unreadable. Noah, we need to talk. There it was, that same gut punch of a feeling I'd pushed down for years. I dried my hands on a nearby towel, trying to keep my voice steady. What's going on? She paused for a beat too long. It's about your college fund. A chill ran down my spine. My dad's college fund. The one he carefully saved for me before he passed. The one thing that was mine, just mine. What about it? I asked, gripping the towel like it could anchor me. Paul let out a breath like this whole thing was weighing him down. Well, Noah, that money's just sitting there. And Brandon, well, he's got a real shot at something big. We thought it made sense to put it towards something worthwhile, he added. Silence followed. Heavy, thick, and impossible to ignore, though no one else seemed to notice it. I gave a bitter little laugh. You're kidding, right? Brandon shifted, clearly uncomfortable, but stayed quiet. My mom crossed her arms like I was the one being difficult. Noah, don't be so dramatic. You're already in school. You're doing fine. Brandon needs it more than you do. I need it. That money is mine. My voice cracked with emotion, anger bubbling up before I could stop it. Dad left that for me. Not for Brandon. Not for you. Her mouth thinned into a hard line. Noah, it's not always about you. We're a family. Families help each other. Paul swirled his drink again and watched me like I was some stubborn kid throwing a fit. Look, son, I'm not your son, I shot back, fists clenched tight. You don't get to touch my father's money. Paul laughed under his breath and shook his head. You've got quite the attitude. My mom sighed, rubbing her temples like I was exhausting her. You don't need to make this more painful than it already is. Oh, I think you two already nailed that part. Brandon finally chimed in cautiously. Look, man, if it means that much to you, I don't need it. But Mom shot him a glare that made him clamp his mouth shut instantly. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just Paul's bright idea. This was hers. My own mother, she was willing to steal from me for her new, shiny replacement family. Something inside me cracked. I straightened up and said in a cold, even tone, you're not taking it. Paul let out a dismissive snort. And what are you going to do about it? I turned to Mom, searching her face for something, anything. Guilt? Shame? Regret? Nothing. Just a blank stare. And that told me everything. I stepped back from the counter, jaw clenched so hard I could feel it in my skull. You know what? Take it. She looked almost relieved for a second. Like I'd surrendered. But I shook my head. Take it. But don't ever expect to see me again. And then I walked out. Out of that kitchen. Out of that house. Away from a family that had already left me long before. I didn't go to my room. I didn't pack a bag. I just left, my breath forming clouds in the frigid air, heart pounding like a drum. No plan. No destination. Just gone. I ended up at my best friend Tyler's place. He didn't ask anything. Just opened the door, took one look at my face, and stepped aside. Dude, what happened? He finally asked after I collapsed onto his couch. I let out a cold, humorless laugh. They're giving my college fund to Brandon. Tyler's jaw clenched. You're joking. I shook my head. Wish I was. Apparently, he's got potential. And I don't need the money. Wow, he muttered, dragging his hand through his hair. Your mom. I knew she was bad, but this is another level. I just stared at the carpet, numb. So what are you gonna do now? He asked after a while. I let out a long sigh. No idea. I told them if they took it, they'd lose me forever. Tyler scoffed. And do you think they care? That was the hardest part. I didn't know. I didn't go back that night. Or the night after. No calls. No texts. Nothing from Mom. Nothing from Paul. Just one message. From Brandon. Hey, I didn't ask for this. Just wanted you to know. I stared at it for a long time. Then typed back. Then don't take it. He never replied. A week passed. I kept crashing at Tyler's, dragged myself to class, pretending like things were fine, but my world had shifted. And then, out of the blue, I got the news. My grandmother died. The message came in from my mom. Cold. Short. Clinical. Your grandmother passed away this morning. The funeral is Saturday. That was it? No, are you okay? No, I know you were close. Just facts. No emotion. I stared at the screen, stomach in knots. My grandma was the only one in that family who ever truly gave a damn about me. She was the one who held me when Dad died. She never forgot a birthday. She never fell for Mom's games. And now she was gone. I knew I had to be at the funeral. Not for my mom. Not for Paul. Not even for Brandon. For her. The day of the funeral came, and with it a sky full of clouds and a bitter, unforgiving cold. The sky was heavy with gray clouds, and the wind stung my cheeks like it had a personal grudge. I stood at the very back of the church, far from everyone, watching my mom put on a performance, dabbing at her bone-dry eyes with a tissue like she was heartbroken. Paul stood beside her, arm draped around her like they were the lead actors in some tragic play. Brandon was there too, fidgeting in his suit like it didn't fit right, or maybe he just didn't want to be there. I kept my distance. Couldn't even bring myself to walk up. After the service, we made our way out to the cemetery. I stayed quiet, hands shoved deep into my coat pockets, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I wasn't sure if I'd even say a word to my mother. But then I heard her voice, low and matter-of-fact, talking to Paul like we were discussing furniture. I just think it makes sense, she said. The house is too big to just sit there empty. We should move in. I stopped dead in my tracks. My stomach dropped. She was talking about Grandma's house. The woman hadn't even been in the ground for an hour, and my mom was already laying claim to everything she owned. That familiar bitterness rose in my throat, and I turned and walked away before I said something I couldn't take back. But one thing was crystal clear: if she thought she could steal from me again, she was in for a hell of a wake-up call. I didn't go home after the funeral. Couldn't do it. But I didn't have to wait long before she found me. She called the very next day, not to check in, not to ask if I was holding up. No, she went straight to business. Noah, she said, her tone smooth and composed, we need to talk about the house. I barked out a dry laugh and gripped the phone tighter. The house? You mean Grandma's house? The one that's not even cold yet. Don't be dramatic, she snapped. You knew this was coming. It doesn't make sense for it to sit empty when we? I cut her off sharp. Who exactly is we? She hesitated for a heartbeat, then said, Paul, Brandon, and I. We're planning to move in. And there it was. The final insult. My jaw locked tight. You don't own that house. A pause. Then she let out a slow sigh like I was the one being difficult. Noah, we can come to an agreement. That house is too much for you to handle alone. I didn't miss a beat. You mean it's too much for you to accept that it's not yours? Her voice dropped an octave. Cold. Noah, don't start this. Grandma would want her family to live there, she said, like that made it all okay. She wouldn't want it to go to waste. Oh, yeah? I said, biting back a laugh. Then it's a good thing she left it to me. Silence. Dead silence. What? She finally asked, her voice brittle. I took a breath, letting it sink in. Grandma left the house to me. Her voice turned venomous. You're lying. Am I? I said, savoring the way her confidence cracked wide open. Because I already met with the lawyer. This morning, actually. And the will's airtight. The house is mine. And then she snapped. You ungrateful little brat, she hissed. After everything we've done for you. I actually laughed. Everything? You mean stealing my college fund? Pretending I don't exist? Thanks, Mom. Real generous of you. Her breath hitched, furious. You can't do this. You wouldn't dare kick us out. I grinned, letting the words hit hard. Who said anything about kicking you out? I waited just a beat. You can stay, but you'll be paying rent. The sound of her breathing on the other end, shaky, pissed, was almost satisfying. You wouldn't, she snarled. Try me. And for the first time in forever, I was the one who hung up on her. And damn, it felt good. 2 days passed with nothing but silence. I knew it wasn't over, not by a long shot. Day 4? I started getting calls, unknown numbers, one after the other. I ignored them. Then my phone lit up with a text. Mom, we need to talk. This isn't right. Noah. I ignored that too. A voicemail came through not long after. Noah, you're being childish. We're your family. You can't just abandon us like this. Call me. Deleted. Just as I was starting to breathe again, another call came through. This time, Brandon. I stared at his name for a second, then answered. What do you want? I asked flatly. He let out a sigh. Look, man, I didn't ask for any of this. I don't want things to get worse. Worse? I almost laughed. You think this is bad? He paused. I know Mom screwed up. And Paul? Yeah, he's a jerk. But this whole rent thing? You don't really mean that. Oh, I mean it, I said, my voice like ice. Brandon let out a slow breath. Come on, Noah. This isn't you. You don't have to prove a point. I'm not trying to prove anything, I told him. I'm finally drawing a line. Something no one in that house ever bothered to respect. He was quiet for a long moment. You know she's not gonna let this go, right? I closed my eyes. I know. And I was ready. Because when my mom wanted something, she didn't stop. And now, she wanted that house. The next day at work, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I ignored it. Buzzed again. And again. By the fifth call, I finally picked up. Noah Bennett? A man's voice asked. Crisp, professional. Who's asking? I replied. My name is Jason McCall. I'm an attorney representing your mother and Paul Whitaker. They'd like to arrange a meeting to discuss your grandmother's estate. I let out a disbelieving breath. A meeting? You mean they want to steal from me the legal way now? Pause. I can't comment on that, he said. But I do encourage you to meet. It's in everyone's best interest. I leaned back in my chair, gripping my phone tight. Tell my mom I'll see her in court. Then I hung up. When I got home that night, there was already a car in the driveway. Of course. I climbed the steps, and before I could even knock, the front door opened. My mom stood there, arms crossed, her mouth a tight line of rage. Paul hovered behind her, looking like her personal bouncer. Brandon stood off to the side, exhausted and uncomfortable. What is this, Mom? I asked, stepping inside. I already knew. You've pushed this too far, she snapped. We tried to handle this like adults, but you left us no choice. Oh yeah, I scoffed. No choice but to drag me into court? Her jaw twitched. You're being ridiculous. We just want what's fair. I laughed coldly. Fair? You stole from me once and now you're after what my grandmother gave me? What's next? You going after my bank account too? Paul stepped forward, smug. Now, son. I turned on him fast. Don't call me son. He exhaled hard, annoyed. That house is too much for you to handle alone. Be reasonable. We're family. No, I said, my voice sharp. We're not. Real family doesn't treat you like this. Brandon finally broke his silence. Noah, man, just talk to us. Okay? You don't have to do this. He sounded tired, maybe even sorry, but it was too late for sorry. You still don't get it, do you? I said. I've spent my whole life being treated like I was disposable in my own house. Like my needs were just an afterthought. That stops now. I looked at them square and said, you can stay, but if you want to live in my house, you're gonna pay rent. My mom's face flushed with anger. You are not going to charge us rent. Noah, that is completely what? I cut her off, leaning in. Unfair? Harsh? Selfish? Kind of funny hearing that, considering that's exactly how you've treated me for years. She inhaled sharply, her hands trembling as she clenched them into fists. We raised you. We gave you everything. My blood was boiling now. No, Dad raised me, and when he passed, you checked out. You didn't give a damn after that. Her mouth opened like she was going to argue, but nothing came out. For the first time, she was speechless. Paul stepped in again because of course he did. If you're not willing to be reasonable, we'll take this to court. I looked him right in the eye, cool and steady. Then by all means, waste your money. The will's ironclad. I've already confirmed it with the lawyer. Silence. Thick and tense. Brandon shifted in place, clearly uncomfortable. Then something I never expected happened. My mom's voice cracked. Noah, please. Her tone was quiet now. You don't have to do this. We're family. I just stared at her. This was the same woman who lied to me, who took from me, who only reached out when she wanted something. And now she wanted my grace? I took a breath, steady and deliberate, then stepped closer to her. You can stay, I said softly, calm as could be. But you're paying. Just like everyone else would. Her face twisted in disbelief. You're heartless. I gave a cold, thin smile. No. I just finally learned how to be like you. And with that I turned and headed upstairs. For the first time in my life I had the power. And I had no intention of giving it back. The atmosphere in the house changed after that. It wasn't the usual cold shoulder I'd grown used to. This was something new, heavy, tense, like the walls themselves resented me. For once, they realized I wasn't backing down. And they hated it. First, they went silent. Days passed and not one of them said a word to me unless they absolutely had to. My mom would avoid me in the kitchen like I was contagious. Paul barely left his home office. Brandon mostly kept to himself. And honestly, that was fine by me. But then the petty games started. The Wi-Fi suddenly cut out one night. Another time I woke up freezing because someone had turned the thermostat way down. My favorite? Finding my freshly washed clothes dumped wet onto the basement floor like some passive-aggressive message. It was childish. Predictable. Honestly, pathetic. I didn't react. Not once. And that, more than anything, seemed to drive them nuts. About a week after the big blow-up, I got home late from work and found Brandon sitting out on the porch, shivering and rubbing his hands together. What do you want? I asked as I unlocked the door. He sighed. Can we talk? I hesitated a second, then walked inside, leaving the door open behind me. He followed, and we sat down at the kitchen table like we were two strangers trying to figure each other out. Brandon stared at his hands. This whole thing's a mess. I raised an eyebrow. For who? You? Or for Mom and Paul? He let out a long breath. For everyone. I leaned back, folding my arms. If you're here to talk me out of it, don't bother. He shook his head. I'm not. He paused. I don't know, Noah. I didn't ask for any of this. And yet, I said, you're benefiting from it. He flinched. I didn't know they were going to take your college fund. I swear. I studied him for a second. A part of me wanted to believe him. Maybe even did. But it didn't change the fact that he took it. You still used it, I said. He looked away. I didn't have a choice. I scoffed. That's a cop-out and you know it. Brandon exhaled sharply, almost like a confession. I never wanted to be the favorite, Noah. I didn't want this. I tilted my head. Did you ever tell them that? He didn't answer. That was all I needed to know. A moment passed and then he asked, so you're really gonna make them pay rent? I nodded. Yeah. He let out a soft, bitter laugh. They're losing their minds over it. I smiled. Good. He looked up at me and for once there was something different in his eyes. Maybe it was regret. Maybe respect. I couldn't tell. I don't know how you put up with them for this long. I shrugged. Honestly? I don't either. We sat there in silence for a while. Not awkward. Not tense. Just quiet. Two guys finally seeing the same broken mess for what it was. Eventually Brandon stood up. I should go. I nodded. Yeah. At the door, he paused. I'm sorry, Noah. I didn't answer. And then he left. The next morning, everything exploded. I was making coffee when my mom came storming into the kitchen and slammed a folder down on the counter. This is insane, she snapped. Charging your own mother rent? Do you even hear how that sounds? I took a sip from my mug, completely unfazed. Sounds perfectly reasonable to me. She pointed at the paperwork like it personally offended her. We can't afford this. I raised an eyebrow. Oh? So how exactly were you planning to afford this house if it was yours? Her jaw tightened. That's different. I gave her a cold smile. No, it really isn't. She shifted gears. Noah, we're family. We're supposed to support each other. I tilted my head. Like how you supported me? She flinched like I'd slapped her. It's not the same. It's exactly the same, I said, leaning in a little. You had no problem letting me suffer when it suited you. But now that it's your turn to struggle? Suddenly it's unfair. She stared at me, lips pressed tight. Then, right on cue, she played her last card, the victim. I just don't understand where I went wrong with you, she said, her voice cracking, tears welling in her eyes. I raised you better than this. I looked her straight in the eye. No, Mom. You raised me to be convenient. And now that I'm not, you don't know what to do with me. The tears came faster, but I wasn't buying it this time. Not anymore. You've got two options, I said calmly. You pay rent or you move out. But one thing's for sure, you're never taking anything from me again. She let out a bitter laugh and shook her head. You'll regret this, Noah. I took another sip of my coffee. No, I won't. And for once in my life, I meant every word. The rent was due on the 1st. By the 31st, I knew they weren't planning to pay. I was on the couch scrolling my phone when I heard her behind me. Noah. I didn't even look up. If you're here to beg for an extension, don't bother. She let out a sharp breath. I just need more time. I finally glanced over. You've had time. You just didn't think I'd actually hold my ground. Her mouth thinned into a tight line. You're really gonna make your own family homeless over a grudge? I smirked. No. I'm making tenants pay rent. If you can't afford it, you move. That's how the real world works. Her eyes burned with anger, but she bit it back. For once, she knew I wasn't bluffing. Paul and I are trying to figure something out, my mom said. We just need a little bit of flexibility. I leaned back in my chair, arms folded. Paul drives a brand new car. You get your hair done every month. Y'all had plenty of money when you thought you'd be getting this place for free. She swallowed hard, clearly thrown off. This isn't fair. I tilted my head. Fair? You thought it was fair when you tried to steal the money Dad left me. She didn't answer. Just stood there, lips pressed tight. I walked past her. You've got 48 hours, I said without looking back. The next morning, I woke up to the sound of wheels dragging across wood. Suitcases thumping against each step. I didn't bother getting up to check. I just sat at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee like it was any other day. Paul was the first one in. Face red, eyes full of fire. You've really outdone yourself, kid. I glanced up from my mug. And yet, I still own the deed. His jaw twitched. You're gonna regret this. I took a slow, satisfied sip. Highly doubt it. He muttered something under his breath and stormed out. Brandon came next, backpack slung over one shoulder. He stopped in the doorway, looking unsure. Guess this is it, he said. I nodded. Looks like it. He paused. You know, I don't blame you. I raised an eyebrow. But, he added with a tired smile, I kinda wish it hadn't come to this. I shrugged. Me too. And he was gone. My mom was the last one to leave. She stood at the doorway, staring like she was hoping I'd say something, anything. I hope you're happy, she said, her voice flat and cold. You've torn this family apart. I met her stare head on. No, Mom. You did that. Her face twisted, caught between rage and something that almost resembled guilt. But I didn't care anymore. I watched her pick up her bag, step outside, and disappear without another word. And then, silence. But this time it wasn't awkward or tense. It wasn't that eggshell walking quiet I'd grown up with. No fake smiles, no icy politeness. Just peace. Real, clean, still peace. I exhaled, long and deep. For the first time ever, I felt free. And damn, it felt good. AITA for making my mom and her family pay rent? Or was I just setting boundaries? Hey, Reddit. Been a couple weeks since everything went down. And honestly, I'm still sorting through how I feel. If you didn't catch my first post, quick recap, my mom and her husband tried to take my college fund. Then they came for my inheritance after Grandma passed. I told them if they wanted to live in my house, they'd have to pay rent. When they refused, I kicked them out. Yeah? It's just me. House is quiet. Bills are paid. And for the first time in years, I'm not being treated like a damn bank. But here's the thing, even knowing I did what I had to, it still feels weird. The silence now? It's not the kind I used to crave when they were always hovering, always taking. This silence feels heavier. Like something's missing. There's no more drama, no more shouting matches, but there's also no one here but me. Just me and my thoughts echoing off the walls. Did I go too far? Top comment 1. Dude. You did what you had to do. They were using you plain and simple. If they actually cared, they wouldn't have treated you like a walking ATM. Stay strong. Opie's reply. Thanks. Logically, I know you're right. I was justified. But feelings don't always follow logic, do they? I don't miss how they treated me, not for a second. But I guess I miss the idea of family. Even if mine sucked. Top comment 2. You kicked your own mother out over money? Wow. Hope the peace keeps you warm while she struggles. Opie's reply. She's not homeless, she moved in with Paul's family. And let's be honest, she didn't hesitate to try and wreck me financially. But yeah, sometimes I still wonder if I should have given her more time. Top comment 3. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel. It makes you sane. They took from you without shame, but now you're the bad guy for not letting them do it again? Nah. Don't fall for that. Opie's reply. I hear you. Really, I do. And I don't regret finally standing up for myself. But man, does standing up always have to feel so lonely? Top comment 4. Hey. It's me, Brandon. I saw this post. I don't know. I get why you did it. But you weren't the only one who lost a family that day. Opie's reply. Damn. I didn't think you'd see this. I don't even know what to say. You got stuck in the middle and maybe I didn't give you enough credit for that. If you ever want to talk, doors still open. Final edit. I don't know if I'll ever stop second-guessing myself completely. Maybe time helps. Maybe it won't. But right now, all I can do is move forward and figure out what comes next. Thanks for reading.